Good morning, everyone. My name is Graham, and I'm the land steward at Goose Pond Sanctuary. Today we've got sort of a two-part segment for you. The first part is that I'm at a remnant prairie right now, along with Mark and Kaylee and Kala. And then the second part will be a brief overview on the Silky Warmoth. So first things first, this is UW Farms Remnant Prairie, and as the name suggests, it's owned by UW Farms, the Arlington Agricultural Research Station, or the UW Madison. It's a fairly small remnant, but of very high quality. So this place was getting quite overrun by shrubs, and so myself and some other Goose Pond staff spent a bunch of time this last winter really trying to remove a bunch of stuff, and so I'm sitting in kind of a prime example right now. So all around me you can see these little plants coming up. This is gray dogwood. Gray dogwood is a really common invader on remnants. It's a good native plant. Birds use it for nesting and stuff, but it's really not supposed to be here, and it takes over remnants really fast. And so just a couple months ago, we came through here and brush cut the whole stand, and it was thick. I mean, it was maybe 4 or 5 feet tall, and you really couldn't see the ground at all. But now, after that stuff is gone, right, the plant isn't dead obviously because it's still coming up, but after that stuff got taken out, a whole bunch of other good plants are much more visible right now. Prairie drop seeds. There's a bunch of small lead plants. Showy sunflower is another one that's just starting to bloom. There's a little bit of a flower head in there. What else we got? Roses, of course. Prairie roses are everywhere. And let's try to find maybe 2 more. Oh yeah, classic. Yeah, so this is a dry remnant prairie, and silky aster is one of the most prominent plants in dry remnant. You can tell it's silky because it has sort of grayish undersides on the leaves, and also it is indeed very silky. Oh yeah, here's another good one. White prairie clover coming up. There's also purple prairie clover here. Here's flowering spurge, not to be confused with leafy spurge. And then I guess one last one is this Missouri goldenrod. It's a clone forming goldenrod, but it's not very aggressive and it's fairly short. Some other stuff that I can't show you guys today is the wood lily that's out here. The wood lily is past blooming, but there's quite a few plants out here. Valerian, and there's also some other strange small plants you really don't find other places because it's hard to collect and seed out, like maybe blue-eyed grass. But so this remnant is fairly small, and it really needs to be burned pretty soon again. Now that this shrub removal has taken place, it'll help to burn it to really rejuvenate any plants that were underneath. But we definitely have a good start right now. So another thing that happens sometimes when you remove stuff is bad plants come up. This is of course wild parsnip. We've been working on that for a while, but it's mostly dead in this remnant. There's still some scattered plants around, but we're trying to get rid of everything. But so like I said, this remnant's small, maybe 4 or 5 acres, and despite its very small size, it's host to a lot of wildlife. I found a harrier nest this year, which is wild because they usually need some hundreds of acres, 3, maybe 400. But these ones are probably using a nearby sedge meadow and just nesting out here and then flying to it. There's also clay-colored sparrows, savanna sparrows, saw a bluebird today. There's been mallard nests, wild turkey nests, so for such a small area, it really does have some interesting fauna. One last thing to mention about this place. I should be clear, I suppose. Prairie Remnant means that it has never been tilled up and probably not grazed, maybe just grazed lightly, and it hasn't been herbicided. But this one is here, probably because these rocks. Can't till rocks, so farmers didn't think it was worth their time to till it over. Good for us, it probably wasn't worth their time, and now we got something really cool here instead. So now we're gonna walk over to Kaylee and see what she's doing with the Silphium Warmoth. There's a different, this is one other plant I'll mention as we go past. Prairie willow, it's one of the only dry willows, or dry soil willows, and there's a few clones of it here. It's a really good early pollinator plant, and it makes quite an attractive bush. There's also a lot of prairie phlox here, and heart-leaved golden alexanders. Some of these seeds we really can't collect anywhere else, and since it's local genotype seed, as in like right from our area, this is some of the main stuff that we like to use because it's adapted really right for this location. All right, and this is Kaylee.
Hello, I'm gonna take my mask off.
Yeah, go for it.
A little better. I'm Kaylee. I'm a master's student at the Nelson Institute for Environmental Conservation at UW-Madison, and I'm here this summer doing some Silky Warmoth research. And the last couple of weeks we've been doing a lot of surveys to see how many Silky Warmoths we have on the different properties, and we've also been just going to some of these smaller areas to see what we can find. And here I have a compass plant. And so when we're looking for Silky Warmoths, first we look for brown leaves like this. And I can show some other examples in a little bit. And then we'd go to the base and look for frass or caterpillar poop, which is here. So the Silky Warmoths, they have one life cycle over the summer. So in the fall, the adults will lay eggs at the base or on the base of the host plants. And then in the spring, the larvae will hatch and they'll burrow into the stem and eventually make their way down into the root, where they'll feed over the course of the summer and then pupate late August, and then emerge as adults sometime early September-ish. So yeah, really, this is what we're mostly looking for. The only way we could actually confirm that this is a Silky Warmoth would be to dig it up and raise the adults, but this is a pretty good sign that they're here. And I have a couple other examples. This is the prairie dock leaf that was showing signs. And if you look close, you can see a little hole that's been bored into the stem of the petiole of the leaf. So that was probably a larvae boring in, and then they usually work their way down and then into the root. Oh yeah, and they're important because they're state endangered. So it's really awesome that we're finding all these signs everywhere that they are getting around. So. Yeah, and I could talk a little bit about fire too. So because the eggs are usually laid on the surface or on the plant, and a lot of controlled burns take place in the spring and fall. Is that right, Graham? Mm-hmm. So they might be more sensitive to fires because those fires could kill off the eggs, which means you wouldn't have larvae that year. So we're trying to figure out just how sensitive they are to those controlled burns and to see how quickly they can recolonize areas that have been burned. I don't know how long I should go on for about this because I could go on for a while.
No, that sounds good. That's a very good introduction.
Okay.
Hey, Graham, let me point out here once.
Yes.
You saw what the leaves of the compass plant look like. Here's a hybrid. And prairie dock leaves are big leaves, not indented at all. But there's prairie dock growing about 200 yards from here. But there hasn't been any prairie dock growing within this property here for probably 150 years because they bought it all up into corn. But it's growing down there where by the sedge meadow and along the railroad tracks where the harriers are. But it's interesting to find these hybrids compared to the regular compass plant.
All right, well those are two pieces that we've got for you guys today. UW Farms Remnant and also Silphium Warmoth. This work at the Remnant anyway, this shrub removal, is thanks to Tom and Kathy Brock, because they've got a particular eye in this place and decided to donate to us particularly to help and restore and maintain this place. So that's really nice. If you want to assist with similar projects, you can go to the Madison Audubon website and hit the donate button. It's really important, especially for places like this that are so special, never been plowed. It's just kind of like a piece of history, I suppose. I would also like to thank the volunteers that come out here and help out with removing bad plants and also collecting good seeds so we can plant good plants. That's all I've got for you today, but if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave those in the comment box and we will get to those as soon as possible. Thank you.